September is National Recovery Awareness Month. A consistent yoga practice has been shown to be a successful tool to support the recovery journey. We have with us today Monica, over 12 years sober, the poster child of the 12-step program, who is fortunate that her family cared enough. Fate brought us together through yoga classes, delivered twice a week at an inpatient treatment center. Now, after 12 years, Monica is a yoga teacher and a weightlifter, a social media content creator, a homeowner, spouse, and a loving mother, a fixture in the pure yoga and fitness community. Let's learn about Monica's journey from addiction to sobriety to a fulfilling, purposeful, and a peaceful life. Monica's story gives hope and inspiration to others. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
All right. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay, I'm ready.
What were the drug or drugs of choice?
So I would do anything. I was not picky, but a lot of alcohol towards the end and a lot of methamphetamine towards the end. So,
At what age did you start?
so dabbling, high school, like started to drink, smoke a little weed, would kind of sneak out, say I was, I don't know, spending the night at a friend's watching Disney movies or whatever. Really, we were out in some field with probably alcohol poisoning, or that's kind of the millennial like joke, is that that was how we were all kind of raised. And so, yeah, high school, I think probably classified as normal, like weed smoking, drinking, and then college, like almost instantaneously, I just like went off the rails. It all happened very quickly. So.
That seems to be something common to your generation, right? You are at this age now,
36.
36.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 20 years ago,
Yeah.
I think
Crazy.
alcohol and especially alcohol was a bit more common throughout the high school and the college years.
Yeah.
I think it's encouraging that today there's a downturn
It does seem
in
like
alcohol
that.
use.
Yeah, it
Right,
does seem like that. I've noticed that a lot of people are kind of choosing sobriety, not because of like a terrible experience they've had, but just because they feel better and they function more clearly. And, it's cool. It's cool to see that.
Mhm. Now, in your teenage years, is there anything you can think back to that was the impetus for, following along with others or wanting to belong? Was that an issue? Was that
Yeah.
a reason?
I think that's probably a huge part of it is, coming from a place of, some social anxieties, feeling like, I didn't quite feel super comfortable in my own skin, didn't feel super comfortable in groups of people. And still to this day, I mean, that's something that I just, have come to accept as part of my being and my experience. But yeah, that was a big part of it. I'll also say genetics. I think that's definitely a factor not to be discounted. My dad has been sober for basically as long as I've been alive, so 36 years. There's a lot of alcoholism in his side of my family. And I think as you like go into the recovery community, you'll find that there are a lot of those genetic factors at play. So I think it's kind of a combination of genetics, having some sort of discomfort or hole inside, if you will, that you're looking to ease. And then also just like usage. Like I think if I would have never started, I don't think it obviously would have progressed. Like if I just maybe if circumstances were slightly different and I just was never exposed to, then who knows? But I think those are probably the factors there. Um,
Now, today's teenagers are faced with different issues like social media,
yeah.
Instagram, those types of
Well,
addictions.
and on the same token, the fentanyl and all of that, like it's like we were able to experiment pretty freely with very minimal repercussions. Like I think if I were doing what I had done then, now, I don't think I'd be here just because the drugs have changed.
Yeah, so much more
Um,
powerful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
then,
yes, social media, all the,
all of it.
comparison. Um, I notice a lot now, like just this emphasis on like beauty and aging, and maybe that's just the age that I'm at, but I find that I think younger and younger people are looking to, really look like their peers.
Yeah,
And there's the ability to do that now, which I think can be tricky.
yeah.
Um,
So let's move on to the treatment years.
yeah.
You spent time in inpatient treatment centers, in and out. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so I'll always remember like I had been struggling for 2 to 3 years in college and just really like out the gate hit it super hard to very like advanced alcoholism within a very short amount of time. And yeah, I just remember like calling my mom one day and just being like, hey, I know this might be a surprise, but I think I'm like a raging alcoholic and I should probably get some sort of help. And it's always these like moments of clarity that have kind of propelled me forward, even though very quickly after that I was like, oh, that I'm just kidding, like I think I'm fine. Like, sorry to, raise the flags or whatever. But yeah, but that I could not take it back. I was already basically on my way to my first treatment center. And I spent a lot of time there. And I got out and I got uncomfortable and I didn't really do, what I was supposed to be doing. And I very quickly went back out and I think spent like another, few months, went back in to the same place. Very quickly was like, oh, I'm not doing this again. Signed myself out AMA, which is against medical advice. Went back to the same stuff, same boyfriend. And yeah, then I think I was out for probably another maybe 6 months to a year. Went to a different place, did the whole deal, got out, went into sober living, wasn't ready, wasn't doing anything, looking for an out. Met a guy, he was into meth. I was like, cool, I can be into whatever you're into. And so that was kind of that last chapter, which was pretty gnarly, which is good. Like, you kind of want it to be super gnarly so that it really like has a deep impact on you. Um, and yeah, and then I went back into my, hopefully knock on wood, final treatment center in 2013. So that was, I graduated high school in '07, and then I went in 2013 was when I got sober. So about 6 years of kind of, if my math is correct, in and out, pretty gnarly lifestyle, like homeless, lots of health scares. I had gout. I don't know if you remember that,
Yes, I
but
do.
yeah, in my treatment center, the last time it was very hard for me to walk. I had like, my legs were so like picked up from just meth, like you just like scratch at your skin and like every pore had like turned into this big open like wound. And um, yeah, and I was just really like, I don't know, something was different that time. I think I had really exhausted a lot of my own ideas and plans on how I was gonna like manage this thing to where I could still do what I wanted to do, but more successfully. And I had just realized that like that wasn't working. And I also went into a facility, and I won't go into the nitty gritty, but a place that was very um, different and very intense. And there was a lot of like looking at myself that I had never done. And there was like an emphasis on my um, flaws, which I know that sounds, whatever, but I really needed that. I really needed to like not put the blame on other people and situations. I really needed to like look at myself. And then I worked the 12 steps for the first time. And I think that was a huge difference, as I actually did the work that is supposed to connect you to this higher power and give you more insight into why you behave the way you do. And yeah, it worked for me. It really did. Um,
So that was a method of looking inward rather than looking outward.
Totally.
And the 12 steps, you were particularly successful with that. That was a great tool for you at that time.
It was. I would say I was raised in that environment where the 12 steps were everything. And then when I left that environment, I was in a AA lineage where the steps were everything and you followed it very by the book. And I did that for a long time to the best of my ability. Sponsoring, doing the meetings, the nightly reviews, all the things. And I really think I just needed something. Like, I don't even know, you can always look back and say, like, was it this or was it the yoga or was it, like, I just needed anything to, like, latch
Yeah.
onto.
Something to believe in.
Yeah, just like some sort of like new like direction and identity and like sense of purpose that wasn't just like how like effed up can I get and be,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you made it, and that's
yeah.
5 or 6 years in and out of different treatment centers. And then that takes a supportive family.
Yes. And resources. Like I will never discount like people that don't have support and don't have resources they're in a very tough spot. Like AA is everywhere and it's free, but it's just like getting enough separation from your life is what I think treatment provides. Like I don't think I could have just like been living like on the streets with the same relationship that I was in, surrounded by the same community, and then like going to a couple meetings and making that work. I really needed to be like plucked out of that and put somewhere else, and then like given all these tools and then placed back into, and I was never placed back into that environment. And that's what's so hard. So many people and older people that have families and jobs and a mortgage, like they don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
To be removed and then just like placed somewhere else, with like a pat on the back, like, okay,
You're all good now.
yeah, yeah. It's people don't have that luxury a lot of the time.
So when you were plucked out, when you were done with that last treatment center, you went into sober living.
I did.
And so that's another pluck out and place you in carefully into the right environment.
Totally. Yeah, there was this kind of like a step down process that actually was like quite lengthy. I remember getting into that last treatment center and being like, I'm not doing sober living. I've been there, done that. It's not for me. It doesn't work. I don't like the rules. It's lame, which, fair. But yeah, I did it. I ended up staying in sober living for an entire year after I got out of inpatient treatment. And so I did a very lengthy step down process. And then from there, I even stepped down further. I ended up living with a woman who worked at the same treatment center. And so there was still that layer of accountability. And at that point, my whole entire community, for the most part, other than the yoga community, was a sober community. So there was just like layers upon layers of being set up for success.
So that's really important how you level down, right?
Yeah.
And it's your environment, your community, your surroundings. Yeah. So the sober living provided those steps for you.
Yeah.
The yoga community was also running parallel
completely
along this time. And I remember, let's talk about your yoga years, your first time you experienced yoga at the treatment center, and then take us on your yoga journey.
Yeah, so they do. They run completely parallel. So yeah, when I was in that last inpatient treatment center, had never done yoga before whatsoever. Y'all's Pure Action teacher, Ted, came out and he taught us yoga, and I remember just being like, I can't like with this right now, it was just like another group that we were required to do, and your body hurts and your soul hurts and you're just, not used to anything other than what you'd been doing. And so I just like, I didn't get it. It was kind of painful. I couldn't focus. I didn't like focusing on my breath because it was hard to breathe and, all these things. But just at some point it just clicked. And I remember really liking it and looking forward to it. And I'll always remember this. I got this little like a certificate or something, and it was the most improved. And I'll always just like remember that. And then later on down the road, that same teacher brought me a new certificate like years later, and it said still most improved, which I thought was really sweet. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk then more about yoga teaching and how you got into that and how that also supported your continued sobriety.
Yeah, I'll backtrack like a tiny bit. So graduating from treatment, Pure Action at the time offered that free month at Pure Yoga. And so I ended up taking advantage of that pure month, which I still don't know why, because like I just wasn't like in the habit of like doing things. Like, like that wasn't like who I was previously. But I was like, you know what? Like, I actually liked this in treatment, so I'm going to try it. And also, oh, I forgot, you guys brought me our whole like kind of community into the hot room
That's right.
that one time as like a field trip. And I think that really helped, like seeing like, whoa, like this isn't just like in the little gym of the treatment center with like no heat and no mirrors and you're just kind of flopping around or whatever. Like I really got the full experience, and I very vividly remember thinking like, wow, like all the drugs and all the drinking didn't kill me, but like this freaking yoga class is going to be the thing that kills me. Like I literally felt so hot and just like overwhelmed, and it was so hard, and it went on forever. And but like I liked it. It like triggered something in me that was like, I like this intensity. Um, and so I think I kind of chased that, and I think I still do to this day. Like I think my personality just wants to be challenged, especially physically. And I always joke with my husband now that it like keeps the demons away. Like that just like physical intensity of something just like helps kind of quiet these other like parts of me. I can just like be very present because I'm just focusing on the thing,
Yeah.
and the sensations involved in the thing. So teaching.
Oh, actually, before.
Yeah.
So for the viewers who aren't familiar
Yeah.
with the original hot yoga,
Yeah.
also known as Bikram yoga, 90 minutes, 26 postures, 2 breathing exercises, a room set to 105 plus degrees, 40 to 50% humidity. From your perspective, again,
Yeah.
that first experience,
Yeah.
go a little bit deeper into what was going through your mind.
Yeah, it's hard because it's been a while now, but I just remember this very strong urge to like run away. Like I really had, and I think that's what I had. I'd been running away, not to sound like cheesy, but I'd been running away from like myself and this experience that I was having with life. I'd been escaping that for as long as I could remember, and I remember having that feeling very intensely, like this is too hard, and like I don't want to be here. Um, but then you just stayed, because like I think there's a very positive element of peer pressure to this environment, where like you just like, well, other people are doing it, and also like I don't want to be like the one that like runs out of here crying or whatever, like so I think there's just this element of like, okay, this is really freaking hard, but like we're all doing it together and we're all uncomfortable, and you get to the end and it's like I stayed.
Yeah.
And I did it, and like I feel awesome.
Yeah.
So there's this overcoming, there's this like facing and overcoming yourself element and your limiting beliefs about like what you can and can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. You're standing there and practicing with a 80-year-old grandmother
Yeah.
next to you and a champion high school athlete next to you on the other side.
And the grandma's probably doing
Better
twice
than the
as
yeah,
yeah,
twice as
yeah,
much as
yeah.
the high school Division three, Division
Yeah,
one
totally.
athlete, right?
Yeah, they're laid out on the floor.
Laid out, yeah.
Yeah.
And we learn to regulate our bodies
Yeah.
such that we can endure.
Totally.
We build endurance, but grit.
Yeah.
Grit. And
Yeah.
when we can grit through something like that, we do
Yeah.
difficult things, we accomplish these difficult things. That's what gives us the strength to challenge ourselves outside. And that is the big value of a hot yoga practice,
Totally.
is preparing you mentally
Yeah.
for the toughest times that you're going to experience outside of the yoga room.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that resonated,
Yeah.
and then you became a teacher.
I did. Yeah, I threw myself in, like, as you probably remember, like full force. Like, again, I really needed, I think a lot about yoga as being like this life raft, that I just needed to like hold on to something. I just needed something, and this was like that perfect thing, because the thing itself was good for me physically and physiologically and mentally and spiritually. The community was so positive, like I really built. I still to this day think I feel the most confident in the yoga room. Like I think like I watch myself carry myself outside of the yoga room, and I'm hunched over and I'm kind of trying to be like smaller and just like, I'm just a little awkward, and but then I watch myself do like the second like the pranayama breathing, like the dialogue starts, I'm just like, I'm standing up straight, I'm ready, my stomach is in, like my posture's good, and I just feel like this is something that my body knows how to do. And a lot of that just came from doing it like so many times, because I have an addictive personality, and I was like, this feels good,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this all the freaking time. Yeah, so I did. Yeah, and then it just felt like a really like natural progression that when the teacher training opportunity came around, I had already then, I was working in recovery, had left to work for you guys as a front desk, which felt like it felt scary at the time to step away from this recovery bubble, but I stepped very like neatly into this yoga bubble, that was very similar in a lot of ways. Same, like very like supportive people. I felt like I had a lot of accountability in the yoga community because everyone kind of knew my story, and people were really like looking out for me and cheering me on, and you also like, you can't really feel like and do this,
Yeah.
like, so there was this element of like, oh, I'm gonna like try to like eat a little better and like sleep a little better, and maybe wake up early, and try
Other
to,
good habits come
yeah,
along
it all
with.
just kind of gets rolled into one thing. So yeah, I was very like in the bubble, and then it just made sense to do the next thing. And I don't know that I really, the social anxiety comes back into play. I didn't know that I would really be a good teacher or be able to do it, but it just felt like the logical. I don't think I was thinking that. I don't think I was like, oh, I'm drawn to teach others, like I don't know that that was my
Calling.
truth, but it just felt like, wow, I love this thing like so much. Like this is my entire like life, and it just felt, and it was a big deal. Like
It's
it
a big
got
deal.
changed to Thailand. I had never, like I literally left everything, went on this like around the world like wild adventure with my little vape pen, like was just like ready to take on the world. And it was like some of the best times of my life at that point. Like it just was really, and again, I think it built confidence.
Yeah.
Like I was continuing to become more of like a whole person through these like wins and challenges and experiences, and overcoming things that I thought like, oh, I can't. Like I remember when it changed, it was supposed to be in New Jersey. At the last hour, they were like, it's going to be in Thailand. I was like, oh, I can't. I don't even have a passport. I was like, I can't go to Thailand. Like, that's just not what I do or who I am. And I remember you guys really encouraging me, and I got like a passport guy to like expedite all this stuff, and we just did it.
Yeah, to this day, I see members of the recovery community who, like you, step into the yoga room, have a profound experience, continue to take the classes, and they see that as it is like a raft that they can get on to, and it is away from the 12-step community or other recovery community, and it becomes yet another way to kind of ease into society and find a place where everybody's accepted and everybody's welcome, where they feel comfortable and confident, where they can also find their new self and their way around the new world. All right, let's talk about Chris, your husband, Derek, your weightlifting coach. And let's talk about weightlifting, and not necessarily in that order, but all three of those things are intertwined.
So around this time, I got back from teacher training. I actually first met my now husband, Chris. I taught him his first yoga class when he was in treatment. So it's a very, and I will say in my defense, we got together many years after this, so I wasn't like robbing the sobriety cradle, but I let him get good and sober first. But yeah, I taught him his first class when I was going out to the treatment centers and teaching. Yeah, and then a few years later, down the road, he was, working at the treatment center and getting his stuff together, and we met through mutual friends, and he was actually he was a work study. Ironically, at Pier, he was cleaning the old garage room, doing the steam cleaning. Yeah, and we met through mutual friends, and we had the yoga in common, and um, yeah, and so he had a good friend, Derek. They were both also into weightlifting, and I just, it's a new relationship. You want to do whatever you can do to like, be involved, and yeah, so they took me into the gym, and it was kind of concurrently, I was, if that's a word, um, I was doing a lot of the advanced yoga and becoming very flexible. And I remember even you and Marty being like, it may be time to try to like find some strength before you're just one noodle, that can't control yourself and
That's right.
ends up getting hurt or whatever, and so it all just kind of like made sense. And they just taught me traditional bodybuilding and strength training. Really, again, it was like the intensity of it.
Yeah.
I just was drawn to, and so I ended up at that point attempting to find this balance between the two, which I think was my first experience with having to like ease the reins on yoga a little bit, because there's not enough hours
Yeah.
in the day to practice doubles every day and be in the gym and be teaching and somehow leading some sort of although I wasn't really doing much outside of that, but um, yeah, and so yeah, unfortunately Derek was one of us and didn't make it out. And so, but I'll always like remember that very fondly of just kind of being introduced to that environment, and I think a very like traditional, like kind of masculine
Yeah.
way, which I think honestly, like I feel like I do have like a masculine side to me that's pretty like I feel like I'm pretty balanced there. And so like Chris, my husband, always jokes when people ask like, "Oh, your wife's a yoga teacher. Should we like cook some vegan
food. Yeah.
food?" And he's like, "She's a gym bro. Like, don't get it twisted. She's a gym bro, like trapped inside of a yoga teacher's body." And so, yeah, I like that balance of you can keep the demons away in different ways.
Different ways.
You know.
Yeah. Chris is also such a great success.
Yeah.
Right? Tell us a little bit about Chris.
Yeah. So it's funny. Our running joke with Chris and I is, I'm like, well, why don't you practice yoga anymore? Like, I would love to. And he has transcended the physical practice is his term for it. But yeah, he does his own stuff. He's weightlifting. He loves to bike ride. I mean, he was riding bikes and doing all the tricks and stuff since he was young. And so that's like his main.
Yeah.
He likes to do the intense like mountain biking with the jumps and all that stuff, and still weight training. And yeah, and now we've been married for a few years now, together for quite a bit of time, coming up on 10 years. Um, and yeah, I think it's just this continuation of like finding myself and creating these environments where like everyone for the most part is moving in a similar direction, and it just creates this like kind of multi-layered like environment where we just continue to move forward, and the drugs and alcohol just kind of continue to be more and more of a rear view mirror situation. Although like still honoring and respecting the fact that like that's very much like a part of who we are.
Yeah.
I think it's become less of a forefront thinking.
Yeah.
Like a consciously, like I'm going to consciously like not drink or use today, just really isn't like a thought that I ever have anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I will say like to anyone out there, like where every thought you have is about using and drinking, like that can and does stop.
It does stop.
Yeah, I almost never have those thoughts. Life is just like really full in a lot of other ways. And,
yeah.
But don't get me wrong, every once in a while. Yeah. But, it's, we're all human. But I think I am connected enough to whatever you want to call it that like those thoughts don't control me anymore. It's very much like, oh, that would be ridiculous. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
When the pandemic started and people were locked down,
yeah.
Did any old thoughts creep in? Was there any risk there during that time?
I won't say like old drinking and using thoughts, but I will say that the pandemic was very interesting for me because I instantly was cut off from the yoga community because the studio's closed. And I was so, again, like at this time, pretty reliant on the physical practice. I had not transcended the physical practice. And so I was pretty reliant on doing it almost daily. And then same thing with the recovery community. I was going to meetings, in person, doing these other side things with my, lineage. And that all pretty much stopped and everything became virtual. And that was actually, I remember there being a time with, like, when that first started, and I was like, holy crap, like, how am I gonna be? Like, how is this, how am I gonna fare, with like the yoga gone and this gone and interaction gone? And actually, I think my personality, I do quite well
Alone.
alone. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I can very much like keep myself occupied and content, but it just, I didn't know. I really had that first experience of, if we'll call like recovery and yoga this like life raft that I was clinging to. I had my first experience of just like floating instead. And I learned that I could float. And I didn't know, and so that I think was a really, I needed that because I don't know how it would have looked going through the rest of my life, like, oh, I can't miss yoga for a single day or else I'll, implode. Like, I just don't know how that would have looked and how that would have been health wise long term, mentally more than anything, if I couldn't be okay without these things, So I think that was my first experience with like, oh, like this is a little uncomfortable and like a little weird, but that's life. Like things are going to be a little uncomfortable and a little weird sometimes. And you just kind of learn that, like, oh, all these things that I had been doing, the results of those things are still working.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So less of a, where you were prior to that depending or had felt you had a dependence on the recovery community and the yoga community.
Yeah.
And they were both big factors.
Yeah.
But then being let alone, I love that, having to float on your own.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah.
It goes to show that those communities prepared you for that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that takes a lot of internal work. And
yeah. And I was lucky that I was at the point that I was at that time, because I feel for people that say it was their first week sober and they had, I'm going to meet so and so at this meeting every day at 6 o'clock, and suddenly that's gone. I really feel for like that situation, because I think it probably really shook up like a lot of people's. I mean, obviously, all of us. It shook up the entire world, So.
So really, the timing of all of these events basically lined up really well for you.
It did. It did. Yeah.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, you take on a lot more weight training, weightlifting, or I remember you were talking about bands and exercise bands and all those things.
The demons were still there a little bit, so I still had to find like something to do. Yeah, a lot of like at home. We invested, both Chris and I, in some dumbbells and the bands, and it was like, okay, we're gonna
do it.
It was a far cry from what we had been doing with, the heavy squats and the deadlifting and, all this stuff at the gym, but it worked. Like it kept everything at bay, and we learned that like it's just they're all tools. Everything's a tool, and you just utilize it as you need to.
Yeah. So let's talk about home ownership.
Okay.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Marriage.
Yeah.
And a child.
A child, yeah. I think that's the biggest one. So Chris and I, Chris is a little bit older than I am, so he's been married before, he's owned a home before. So like for him, it's like, I think he had been older when he got sober and had experienced life, and then has been trying to crawl back to where he left off in a way. Whereas I had no experience with any of those things. And so all of this is like new and very like we always joke that like any house we get is going to be like the nicest house I've ever lived in. Maybe not Chris's nicest house he's ever lived in, but so yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think we've been trying to just reclaim a normal life. I think that's like what all of this has been leading to, is like, wow, like we're just like moving about the world and moving about our lives. in ways that are probably from the outside appear very like, oh wow, they
Normal.
got married and have a
Yeah.
house and have a kid. Like, who doesn't? You know, like, but for us, and specifically for me, that was a really big deal. I think the trajectory I was on, I was not going to own a home. I lived in a storage unit off of Slaughter Lane, you know, just on like a urine-soaked mattress, you know. So like, yeah, it's all really everything I do is like for the first time, and I think it's all like moved at a slow enough clip and built, evolved organically enough to where it just kind of feels um, natural, and I feel mostly prepared for like the next step. And I will say, like, being a parent is something that you can never be like fully prepared for. But again, like I feel like my relationship with my daughter, I feel very confident, like almost like how I do in the yoga room. Like I feel like that connection is very natural, and that love is very natural. That you can't help but like be yourself, you know, in that scenario. And then of course there's some challenges, but she is two, so that's I think pretty standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you mentioned looking at the past and it's in the rearview mirror, and that what you see in the rearview mirror just keeps fading and fading and fading, getting further and further away.
Yeah.
At what point does it completely disappear for you?
I think that's the the trick, is not letting it. It is trying to, and I think if you talk to anyone that's very involved in AA, I'm sure a lot of this will be like, oh God, you know, like, but I think remembering and honoring, like keeping that not necessarily in the forefront of my mind, but still holding on to that acknowledgement and respect for like what I have the capacity to become if you know, if I don't just continue to do the things that I know are right. You know, there's a lot of just like doing, and this is so cliche, but like doing the right thing, practicing principles of like just trying to be like have some integrity and be honest with people. And I don't do any of those things perfectly, but that's a lot of like what the program is based around, is like trying to change your actions as you can, and allowing this connection to something bigger than you to change the things that you can't change. And so I do. I try to like. I don't know that it's healthy to let it disappear completely. I think there needs to be this like respect for like the disease of addiction, um, and so I just try to keep that um, awareness there. And it's very clear. Like as I move throughout my day, I can see those parts of me still in the ways that I do other things. Like Chris and I probably drink 30 sparkling waters a day. You know, like it's there's I have one right here. You know, it's like there's still like these tendencies, and we can laugh about it. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's the cool part, is like, but we're still like, oh, like I see you. You know, like I see you. Um, so I think that's really what it's become. Is like it doesn't have to be this really like doom and gloom, like I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And I think for a lot of people that is really the beginning, you know. And then a lot of people start to say it like a lot more proudly, like, yeah, I'm an alcoholic and an addict, but look at where, you know, where I am now. And that doesn't, that's not like my only defining characteristic
Exactly.
anymore,
Yeah.
you know. Because I think for a long time it was like, oh, that this is like my whole world. It's just like fighting this thing and fighting myself and being labeled as such. And I think now both recovery and yoga have enabled me to be a lot more than those things.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
yeah.
Knowing where you were, you know, living in the storage unit,
Yeah.
and to where you are now, I mean, that path is really long, right?
Yeah.
Really long. I mean, where you were and where you are now, the version, 3.0 Monica, right? Uh, so, any parting thoughts for people who are on on any road to recovery, any part of that road to recovery?
Yeah, I would say like there's no wrong way to do it. Like whatever path you're on, if it's leading in a direction that feels opposite of what you've been doing, like it's good. I really like for me it was like being willing to just like follow direction, like letting someone else just kind of tell me like where to go from here, which I actually began to really crave. Like I really at first it's like don't tell me what to do, like there's kind of that like angsty like young
Resistance.
person mentality of like I don't know. I like pictured myself on this like Hunter S. Thompson, like I'm gonna burn bright and then like I'm here for a good time, not a long, this kind of just like young person's mentality when you think there's not anything past your 20s. I couldn't see past that and I didn't like I was like, oh, if I die early, who cares. But now I care. Now like as I'm getting close to 40, it's like wow, I hope I really do get to like see my 50s and my 60s and 70s, and I have like a lot of stuff that I really want to like be here for.
And see your daughter grow up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a big deal. And so I would say like whatever like life raft, to bring it back, whatever life raft you've been given, like just hang on for like however long you need to, and then if another one comes along and that one fits better, like I think it's okay to go to that, and to have multiple, and just to use the tools that you're given, and just know that like there is it's possible. Like I'll just leave it at that. If you feel like it's impossible for you to get sober, it is possible, because a lot of us are doing it. So,
All right.
yeah.